Hello and welcome to Crushing Comics. This is the comics review show from the Comic Crush. I am the ghost of Christmas past. With me is the ghost of Christmas probably never will be. We are also known by our secret identities. I am Paul. This is Liz. Hello, Liz.
Hello.
Can I just say that already? You've driven me to drink. Merry Christmas.
Well, see, it's only noon over here, not quite. So I've just got my tea.
It's never stopped you in all the years I've known you, Liz.
Later this evening,
Drinking early
nice mulled wine.
Drinking early used to be de rigueur at Orbital. This is it's my disgusting pre-mixed chocolate flavored espresso martini.
Oh wow, gross.
It's actually lovely. I quite like it. You know my
I like a dirty martini.
You do.
Lots
you do.
of olives.
I much prefer a sugary sweet drink.
I like my drinks bitter, like my soul.
Like my co-hosts. Hello. How are you? Having a good Christmas so far? So this is episode 14 of season 1. It is the final episode of the season of this show for the year. I can't wait until we're all done. We've got one more show after this, the Hawkeye show, which we're recording straight after. And then that's us wrapped for the year. There may not be many shows going out over January just because we are retooling and things, and it's going to take a bit of time. As I've mentioned before, there will be a bit of a long break, principally so I can sort of decompress from having been exposed to Liz throughout most of this year. But we will be coming back bigger and better, I hope, in late January. We've got lots of good comics coming up, looking at the schedule. And the show will be different. It will look different, I hope, kind of. I mean, none of this will be different, or what's behind Liz. Gary wants to know if you're actually going to put some books in that bookshelf behind
Okay,
you.
so that's a good question. Now, the shelves, as you guessed, they are not deep enough. However, they would serve well for action figures, other stuff, and I've been thinking about that. So, maybe look out for something else in 2022. We'll see.
Right. I do have comics behind there, but you can't really, because of the lack of sort of focus on my camera, you can't really see what's there. But I can tell you now, it's lots of Batman. Speaking of Batman, we're going to be talking about Batman 1 Dark Knight.
Lots of. I mean, my whole reading experience this week has been all bats all the time. It's just
one
been a
Dark Nightwing.
One Dark Nightwing.
We could call the show. It is a bat heavy week. It's odd because we don't usually have Batman comics on this show.
Hey, it's Christmas. I get to talk about what I want.
Yeah, it's very true. And we're also going to be talking about Nightwing 87, as you might have guessed, which is an experimental issue for Tom Taylor and Bruno Redondo. Couple of quick mentions, and then we're also going to just talk about some highlights of the year. It'll be probably a shorter show tonight, guys, if we can manage, because quite frankly, it's Christmas. I want to go and put my feet up in front of one of the movies that Owen Michael Johnson and I talked about when we did our Radio Times special, which those of you over 30 may want to tune into on the podcast right now. So that's me and Owen Michael Johnson talking about all the good Christmas films that are on terrestrial channels in the UK over Christmas. It's been one of Lizzie's favourites. She loved it, especially the 90-minute closer episode that we did. It's in 3 parts, and we'll keep you going throughout most of Christmas. So, Liz, let's talk about some comics. Something we've been very excited about, or I've been very excited about, is Jock's Batman 1 Dark Knight, ever since this was announced. So it's another Black Label book. I'm going to show it to you now. There it is.
Yep, I have that same cover.
I actually splashed out because it was Christmas and brought the Cliff Chang cover as well, which I don't have.
Did you? Oh, brilliant.
I really wanted to get the blackout cover. Did you see that one? The League.
Oh, yeah. That was really nice. Yeah. In fact, we had, I think, maybe one copy in the shop at Etsy, and I sold it to someone, and I was quite envious as I was handing it over.
Yeah, I know. I really wanted it. I think it was like I can't
I think
remember
it was 1 in 50. I want to say it was 1 in 50, and I can't remember what the cost was, but above my price range, unfortunately.
It was about 20 quid over here. I could have done it just because it's Christmas. I could have treated myself, but I think someone else snaffled it. So, good for them. It's a great cover. But yeah, I had to pick up the Cliff Chang. Also, Cliff Chang's Catwoman Lonely City is out this week as well. Number 2 of that. So this, I mean, going in to this, I got what I expected, really, which was a rollicking good kind of action-based ride.
Very much,
so,
yeah.
Yeah, I mean, just for the audience out there, if you've not read it, we won't give too much away, but in Gotham, the prisoner known as EMP is being transported, and he's a metahuman with the ability to basically fry electrics, much like a human electromagnetic pulse. Unfortunately, he can't really control this power, and he sort of suffers, would you say, from a very nervous disposition, Liz?
I would say so, yeah. He draws his power from energy, like he needs it.
Yes.
So basically he needs to be very kind of like closely monitored and very, closely calibrated, to keep him from sort of going haywire, literally.
And he is he's being transported in a kind of mobile Faraday van, which might be kind of Batman's design, really. It's kind of hinted that it might be his. And Batman is following him in the Batwing overhead. However, dozens of Gotham's criminals, for some reason, are trying to converge on EMP. So you have all the different criminal gangs and factions trying to capture him. I suspect, although it hasn't been revealed, they want to capture him for kind of purposes of using his ability.
Yeah, in all likelihood, he'd be like an asset to any criminal force, that was able to utilize him.
And what happens is that the van transporting him gets taken down, and he escapes on foot, leaving it up to the Batman to go after him. Now, in terms of storyline, this is quite a simple book. And I don't mean that as an insult. I actually love efficiency and simplicity in storytelling. And I think this has got plenty of that. There is a kind of undercurrent. There's a sort of quasi-political revenge undercurrent going on behind the scenes, right?
Yes. There's a character introduced called Vasquez who is her job is let me look at what exactly her title is, but basically she is sort of overseeing a lot of changes in the prison system,
right?
And she's kind of trying to pitch, even more change.
And it's interesting to try and show reform going on in Gotham.
So she's the head of the prison bureau, so that is her title. And the changes she's tried to make is what she really wants, what she seems quite ruthlessly sort of in pursuit of, is abolishment of all crime in Gotham, hinting at that she considers people like Batman a criminal, and anyone like him, any of the sort of vigilante heroes, she seems to deem as much criminal as any of the inmates at Arkham. She wants to now what she's actually doing with EMP, whose name is Edward M. Pressler, EMP, as you see, is she's trying to semi-reform him, I guess, and move him on from Arkham to Blackgate. And you get the idea that that's probably what she's trying to do with a lot of the inmates of Arkham. She kind of claims to have rehabilitated EMP, and to a degree where he can be sent to prison rather than an institute like Arkham.
Yeah. I mean, the book has this great build-up of kind of successive energy like EMP himself, I guess. We've got a heat wave in Gotham. We've got the kind of stirs in the societal stirs caused by these reforms. You've got Batman out there who provides a kind of, I don't know, instigation of attitude adjustment, I would say, in the criminals, because they're kind of, and it's interesting because the criminals find EMP simply by following Batman, like by keeping an eye on where the Batwing is, which I really liked as a little device, and it's full of great moments, and yeah, it is interesting to see people trying to reform within the storylines in Gotham,
but you see also that she's got her own agenda. It's not simply,
there's something. See, that's where I think the revenge element comes in. I think there's something she might have been the victim of a
right. It's there's a confrontation between her and Gordon, who she obviously doesn't like, and he says, well, after what happened to your family, I can see that this isn't just a simple decision for you. She says, my family has nothing to do with it, but you can see that that's not true.
And it is a wonderfully efficient story. The art is, of course, fantastic,
as you would expect from Jock, nothing less.
But it's also great to see what, as with Cliff Chang with Catwoman, Lonely City, as we were talking about a few weeks back. Terrific writer.
Yeah. I mean, well impressed with that. Totally different in pacing to the Catwoman book, but really effective for the tone he was going for here. We're kind of thrown right into the fray, right into the action. No preamble. It's very clear that this book exists out of our current continuity, because he's got Alfred in his ear the whole time.
Yeah, absolutely. I feel like it could be an adjunct to sort of war games and stuff like that. You know what I mean?
Well, yeah, and it's no secret, really, that the premise of the book is that the city is in a blackout. So by the end of the issue, that's what happens, and that really kicks off what we're going to see play out over the next couple of issues. That that Bruce, now his resources are down to nothing except for the bat suit on his back, and and he's going to be stuck in a city with pitch dark criminal element after him on foot.
Yeah, and it's interesting that, because it for me, it takes it right back to that fantastic sequence in year one where he's trapped inside the building and he's only got the few tools he has left on the bat suit, because he loses the utility belt early on. And it's interesting to watch him be stripped back to without a lot of the electronics and things like that, which he relies on, especially for communication. And in a way, the book precurses him, later on losing Alfred, because, he does in fact lose Alfred. He can't. He hasn't got that.
You can't hear him. You can't. Yeah.
And Alfred is as droll and witty as ever. I loved Jock's kind of little bon mots.
Their banter is just spot on.
Not as good as our banter, Liz. I mean.
Well, yeah, I mean, that's hard to top.
But yeah, all in all, I love this. Another huge Black Label book. I really like these because of the format allows so much display room for the art. Look, I mean, the downside to it is that there were 2 Black Label books and quite a few $5 books out this week, most of which I seem to pick up. It was an expensive week.
Oh yeah. Yeah. I mean,
it just like the prices. We will talk about this a bit later on the show, but it's expensive.
Ain't cheap.
It's a very expensive hobby, but it's fun, and I love it. So Unless you got anything else for this one, that's Batman 1 Dark Knight available at your local comic store. My local comic store is, of course, the one I work at, Gosh Comics. You can see me in there on Mondays and Thursdays because I know, obviously, I'll be the star attraction. Not the thousands upon thousands of comics they do.
My local shop is, of course, the one that I work at, which is That's Entertainment in Worcester, Massachusetts, where you can find all of your fine Bat books and much more.
Do look those guys up. Obviously, all online. Pop on in and see us after Christmas. So I don't imagine anyone will be shopping too much tomorrow. I really don't know. It could be absolutely crazy tomorrow. So as we do this show, it's the 23rd of December. So literally one more day to go, and that's it, folks. No more comics for you. And this was the final comics week. In the UK, though not in the US, there won't be comics next week. So we won't be getting a delivery of comics anywhere in the UK next week, and everything will be coming through the following week. So we'll have like 2 weeks worth. I hope there's no shipping delays. I hope we get it all. Let's see what happens. Do you want to move on to what I'm sure is going to be your favorite book of the week?
My pick of the week, absolutely. I've been looking forward to this. As you know, as have you.
As have I.
Yep.
Nightwing 87.
Yeah.
You didn't go for the variant, Liz. You're not
the beefcake. No, I was very interested, but unfortunately, it got allocated to our sub box customers. So I just had to make do. Maybe an extra copy will pop up and come my way. So. There were some great, hilarious, like beefcake covers this week. Did you see? There was the Jason
Robbins,
Todd, Robbins one. 2. Yeah, there's going to be a couple of those coming out. I think one for each Robin, apart from Damien, because that would just be creepy.
Yeah, who's doing those? Is it Nicholas
I think it's different
Scott?
Artists, or I don't know if they're all Nicholas Scott or. Good question. I'm not sure, but they're very hunky. Lots of like shirtless Robins in various, sort of sexy poses.
Soon to be adorning the wall of Lizzie's room. That's what we'll see next year.
Right,
plastered everywhere. So this isn't a bold kind of experiment. I don't know if this has been done before. I'm sure it has.
I'm sure it probably has, but still,
pages,
I can't.
But not.
Yeah, sorry. I can't think of a whole issue that plays out like this off the top of my head.
So it's 23 by my count, 23 story pages, and it's one continuous image. So each page is more or less. There is a name for this effect, and I can't remember what it is now.
Right. It's sort of like a long shot in film, like.
Yeah. So it's kind of a constant landscape image, where, of course, the character will appear more than once as he moves across the environment. It's really cool. It makes for a very fast read.
Yeah.
Because you are really concentrating a lot on the dialogue, despite the fact that it is so visual. I really liked it.
Oh, it was great. I loved it.
I love the concept of threatening the puppy, of stealing the puppy. Because Bitewing is going to become the new star of the show, I think.
Yeah, little Haley, so cute.
I love that the dog's got a real name and a
superhero. Yeah, brilliant.
One continuous image, brilliantly drawn by Bruno Redondo. Now, I feel that this is a continuation of the stuff he's been doing anyway.
Exactly. I think just because he's so good at this, I think they must have had a conversation where it's like, let's just do a whole issue like this.
Yeah.
Because the whole book has had, lots of really cool little moments like this kind of scattered throughout. So it's not going to feel super gimmicky in a trade or anything like that. When you get there, it's like, it's going to feel like a natural continuation of, as you say, what he's been doing anyway. But to see him do it for a whole issue was just such a pleasure. It was just like so fun and so different. That even though this, the issue is pretty light on story, all that happens is like somebody puts a hit on Dick, not Nightwing, but Dick Grayson, in fact, because of the what he wants to do to change the city. So it's like from the word go, Dick's on the run. He's kind of, in his street clothes, and then he has to duck into an alley, up the fire escape, and, through a bunch of apartment buildings to get to his own. And he teams up with Babs, and, it's just the two of them, these criminals who are after him, kidnap the puppy, and it's like, save the puppy. That's the issue.
Yeah. And it's fantastically done.
It's like, just a blast. And
it reminds me, it's quite sort of Brechtian in a way, this sort of style of book, because you become a spectator on the street the way some of the actual people, the characters on the street are spectators. The colours here are beautiful. So just going back to the credits, Adriano Lucas does a wonderful job on colours, and of course Wes Abbott on the letters, doing a really good job with that, keeping you kind of in place as he switches from talking to Babs to talking to Oracle. There is one downside for me, which was it renders some of the action a little static, or some of the kind of movement of the kind of bad guys a little static. But I think that's the nature of doing everything in a landscape.
Right. I mean, yeah. And, I think that is, for me, that's not a downside, because you're getting something so different.
Yeah, okay.
And I feel like you do get a lot of movement,
absolutely. Like you can't.
So it's a different kind of action scene, and, that acknowledges kind of the static nature of what it's doing, but it's giving you, something else that you don't often see. And it's giving you all sorts of, as you said, little details, like the passersby on the street, the vehicles moving past, just everything that's going on in the city in the background. And I think that's another thing that Bruno Redondo does just so well, is backgrounds, because a lot of artists hate backgrounds. They hate
absolutely
backgrounds. Yeah. And this, it's like he clearly loves it. He clearly loves every little detail that he's drawing. And that's something that's, that I've definitely felt throughout his Nightwing run. I mean, I just, I love that kind of attention to detail and architecture, his all the detail in the architecture is just so great. And it really feels like you're in a city like New York. I think Bloodhaven is probably, supposed to be like, I think it's vaguely based on Chicago rather than New York, but it kind of has, it just has that big city feel.
It's a wonderful, wonderful feel. Did you notice some of the, I suspect that a lot of the people you see are actually cameos from
people that completely.
And actually other comics creators, I suspect. And there is one definite cameo that harks back. I think so. Tom Taylor and Gail Simone, I believe, have this sort of fake blood feud going on.
Oh yeah,
Twitter, which I can't remember what it's about. But if you look on one of the pages, there are some bill posters up. And it says, "I'm definitely not a bear. The G. Simone blood feud show."
Brilliant. Oh, I didn't notice that. See, I'm sure there's all sorts of little details like that as I go through, when I reread it, I will I'll be able to pick up on it. I'm sure other people are picking up on it too, which I love. I love stuff like that.
Yeah, and I could be wrong, but there's like a fast food restaurant that seems to only serve fries called Tole Away, and I don't know if that's some sort of reference to Tula Latte.
Maybe.
But I could be wrong. It just seems a bit of a coincidence. I'd love to know from Tom or Bruno what that is. And he even manages to get the title of the book on the graffiti on the wall.
Yeah,
there's
so
a great big Nightwing kind of artwork, street artwork. It's a fantastic looking book, and it's a marvelous experiment. Did you notice there's like all these creepy, I guess they're supposed to be like homeless guys sort of with hooded faces in one of the panels, like on one of the pages, and it just looks incredibly atmospheric and creepy. It's on that same spread with the Gail Simone and the Tole Away and all that stuff. But
yeah, I'm right.
There's some wonderfully kind of effective atmospheric stuff. And use of light, use of color is marvelous. They get exactly that right sort of ambery nightlight feel. So a marvelous experiment.
Yeah, which I think worked out so successfully. And things like this, it's just like obviously, as I said, nothing really happened in this comic that is going to affect beyond okay, there's a hit out on Dick.
Yeah, that'll play out, and it's great because it's a soft way to launch the arc, the next arc.
Right, exactly. But it's such a memorable issue. It's like it's one that I'm gonna go back to and recommend to people, even if they haven't been reading the book. Things like that. Yeah. And it was a fun conversation to have at the shop yesterday, with customers. Like, oh, you got to read this. This is what it does. One of my customers reminded me of that amazing issue during Scott Snyder's Court of Owls storyline where Bruce is in the maze with the court and he's hallucinating, and you have to actually turn the book physically upside down and round the side and all that stuff.
There's a couple of that in Snyder's run, because in the first arc there's a scene with the Riddler when they're in the museum, where there's a maze kind of thing, but it's a maze of what the Riddler is saying, based on the museum. So there's a lot of that in there. And of course, one can't help but think of the graphic design elements of, say, David Aja or
absolutely.
We were talking about someone else the other day. I mean, or Steranko,
right.
Look how designed those covers and things were. And
in fact, I was actually going to bring up David Aja's Hawkeye run as an example where you actually do get some of these, landscape action scenes, quite a lot of that. In fact, which when we talk about Hawkeye, there was a particular scene in this week's episode that really reminded me of that. In fact,
we'll be getting to that quite soon. In fact, we're nearly out. We've got about 10 minutes to go on this. I just bring up a couple of other things. Amazing Spider-Man 82. I'm not really buying Amazing Spider-Man much, not for any quality reasons. Obviously, great teams on this every week, but this week has Jorge Fornes on art. And again, I don't know if you can see that, but if you look at the cover, that is a sort of graphic designing landscape.
Yeah.
Cover and there's some great stuff happening in there. I think this is a sort of a standalone issue, although it's chapter 8 of the Beyond storyline, and it is a Peter Parker issue as well, rather than Ben Reilly for this one. So
cool. Yeah, I actually that cover really caught my eye this week, because I too haven't been totally on the ball with Spidey. I've been dipping in and out because it's coming out so fast, but I was thinking of picking that one up just based on the art. So yeah, I might do.
Did you pick up anything else this week?
I told you it's a very bat heavy week for me. So Catwoman, Lonely City issue 2, Robins issue 2, which was really good. I really enjoyed the second issue. It's one thing I liked about it is it takes you through each Robin's first gauntlet with Batman, and you have Batman's notes on whether they passed or failed.
I think I'm going to get this in trade. I got the first issue. I liked it, but I think I'm going to hold off for the trade. I'm curious about this first Robin, but I don't know.
I'm not as interested in the first Robin as I am the exploration of the existing Robins. That's what it's doing for me. That's what's the draw for me. So So in that respect, I really enjoyed it. It was it was a lot of fun. I think you will like it when you get back around to reading it. But Batman Imposter 3 was I think it was last week. No, it was actually last week. And same with maybe. Okay.
Anyway, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter.
Yeah. Well, this is just what I picked up this week because I have a lot of stuff in my box that needs picking up. I think I also from last week or the week before was Batman Urban Legends issue 10, which has a couple of Christmas stories in it.
Fantastic.
So there were a couple that, particularly one that I really, really enjoyed was one by Teeny Howard and Christian Doucet. I'm not sure how to pronounce the artist's last name, but it was it's a short, short story with featuring Dick, sort of it's like set on Christmas Eve, and the whole Bat family is like waiting at home for him to join them for Christmas Eve, and he's out trying to fight crime, whatever. And he gets hit with the scarecrow fear gas and starts hallucinating, and you get this ghost, basically a Christmas Carol.
Oh wow, okay.
So like a ghost of Christmas past, present, and future come visit him, and will he get home for Christmas is sort of the question.
My favorite Christmas story. So really
well done.
The
a little Bat family Christmas, I would say these Urban Legends, this particular issue was a lot of fun.
Urban Legends just had its first trade release, which I don't think goes quite up to the sort of big, Tim Drake revelation, if you like,
right.
But it does like the first 4 or 5 issues, I believe, including all the kind of backup stories, or I don't know quite. It's an anthology title. They're not backup stories. It's an anthology title. But that's out now as well. Nightwing has got its first trade out. So Volume 1, Leaping into the Light, which I haven't picked up yet, but we'll try and rectify that as soon as possible because I really want to do that. Do you think, given the nature of Redondo's art, they should have perhaps released that as a treasury? I would have liked to have seen those as a series of kind of larger format books, really.
I think it could happen, but I think really what they want to do is get the book into people's hands because the issues have been selling out so consistently that I think they want to, I totally, I like when they put out a nice affordable trade paperback right away so that people who want to get caught up
it's a hardcover, but inexpensive.
Okay, all right. I haven't actually gotten my hands on, on a copy of it yet. I'm gonna wait for a paperback personally because I have all the issues, but I like to own them in trade too, because that's just how I roll.
Which is an attitude I don't get. I mean, you only need the book in its complete form once.
It's only certain things that I do this with, but Nightwing, is one.
Yeah,
So
I try and get rid of stuff straight away now. Because if I'm going to replace with trade, because I don't have the room for all these things to sort of hang around. If you want an interesting look at the Batman Robin relationship, Cloaked #1, that hit the US last week, but the UK this week. That's a kind of interesting take on the Batman Robin stuff. I would give that a look. I'm not going to say too much about it, but that's from Dark Horse by Mike Richardson and Geordie Armengol. This year's been interesting for me, Liz. I've seen DC books kind of take pride of place again in my kind of comic collection, more than any other, really. DC and Dark Horse. I've also started picking up Marvel miniseries. I've really enjoyed Kang the Conqueror, which hit its final issue this week. I don't know if you've managed to read any of that yet.
I have done, yeah. I'm really enjoying it. I think it's been great.
And of course, Moon Knight, which also hit its final issue this week. Final issue, the first arc, issue number 6. So the first arc comes to a close this week. We'll be reviewing those trades on the website as they sort of get released. I think it's kind of, once again, we're in a turbulent time because of COVID, and the changes in distribution is quite drastic. Dark Horse just got sold this week to a video game company.
yeah, that was interesting news.
So
I don't think it's going to hurt them. I think it's going to help them. Because I think they have loads of great properties at Dark Horse, and for a little while they were kind of losing a bunch of them. But as you may have heard, some of the Star Wars properties are kind of going back. They're going to be able to tell some Star Wars stories again.
It's bizarre how this is happening again. Like I don't fully understand the nature of this deal, or why it's happened, or why Marvel. I mean, Marvel are putting out a ton of Star Wars books,
and they will continue to do so. I think it's more like the stuff that was over at IDW going back to to Dark Horse.
I mean, I've heard rumors that IDW might be kind of on the chopping block as well, or not the chopping block, but on the sort of sale block soon. It might be picked up.
Yeah, it's obviously, you have to kind of grow and change to survive in this weird post-COVID world, and a world where Disney owns Marvel, and and Warner Brothers, HBO, all that own DC. So it's just like, basically, what's working for them could work for, for some of these other companies.
Absolutely. I mean, I really like what DC are doing. I think their stuff is probably the most experimental in terms of the kind of avenues they're willing to go into. I'm actually quite surprised I'm picking up Marvel books again. But hey,
my year has been pretty heavy on the superhero stuff, as as it often is. But I would say particularly, I've been reading lots of DC and Marvel this year. I have been trying to pick up other stuff, and have done along the way, and enjoyed plenty of it. And going into 2022, I think, probably even more so, now that I'm back working in a comic shop, that really has, it's made, things just that much more accessible to me because of the nature of it. You get great recommendations from your customers and, people you work with, and, so it's nice to be in that environment again, and have that sort of, that little extra level of access, to good tips.
Totally. Customers are usually the number one source of good kind of suggestions, because given the spread of customers, they're the ones who are kind of always reading more than you. I plan to kind of really dive into more reading over the Christmas break, which for me will be quite long. Ostensibly, it's going on right to the end of January. It's not actually a break, though. What I'm using it to do is catch up on a lot of reviews, and read a lot of stuff, and kind of clear the slate for February onwards, because I want to try and bring more content to the Comic Crush, and the only way to do that is to have time to do it. So January is really a time when I'm going to try and get on top. However, if you look at the comics release schedule, it's insane. There are so many books potentially to pick up each week. I miss those sort of times when there'd be a bit of a slump for a few weeks and you'd get a chance, but it's just not happening. But I think it's partly people are still trying to catch up from sort of COVID kind of chaos that it caused in the industry. I would like to see all the comic companies, we know who we're talking about, go back to Wednesday releases. I would love that.
I don't know if that's going to happen.
It doesn't really affect us in the UK, but I feel that they've sucked some of the, great company. My number one sort of comics, where most of my budget goes every month after DC. But I really wish they'd go back to Wednesday releases, because I feel they've sucked some of the excitement out of NCBD, and that is a shame. Not so much in England because we get them all on a Wednesday anyway now.
Right.
But I'd like to see that. I'd love to see them launch DC Universe in the Europe the way they say they've been going to for the last 2 years.
I wouldn't hold my breath.
Yeah, lots of things I'd like to see. Comics wise, I'm always excited for what's coming. Always excited by what I'm reading every week. And hopefully you can sort of catch up with some of that excitement on the Comic Crush. You can also catch up with what Liz is doing over on lizcjordan.com, where you can see some of her kind of archival writing. Have you got new stuff on there yet, Liz? Or are you still
not much? I mean, I think during our break, if we're not going to be doing much podcasting together, then I might try and do some writing. And we'll see. It might be nice to get some new content on there. So
those of you that sort of know Lizzie's stuff from back in the All Book days will know what a terrific writer she is. Her reviews are kind of brilliantly succinct, and especially her film stuff. That's great. So you should definitely go back and take a look at some of that on her site now. It's well worth diving back into. That's pretty much it from us. Merry Christmas to you all. I hope you have a good Christmas break. We've got one more show to go. I think these are going to end up going out on the same day. Just because I really want a day off tomorrow. So everything's probably going to be out by tonight. The Hawkeye show will be out, the final episode of that. This has been Crushing Comics, Series 1. Done, wrapped.
All right.
Did a whole series, Liz, 14 episodes. There will be more episodes in the next series, I promise you. But also there will be plenty of breaks in that as we move to sort of the kind of new films that are coming out. I'm not a big fan of doing all that stuff at the same time, like of trying to juggle like 8 different shows at once. So I think what we'll be doing is taking little successive breaks as stuff comes up to kind of make it a bit easier on us. But the show will be fairly regular. And hopefully, as I said, we'll have a bit of a new look and be a bit spiffy for you. Liz is excited. She doesn't really show it.
I will look forward to getting back in after a break.
Yeah. But guys, thank you for sticking with us this year. We're now up to 81 subscribers. Thank you so much to all of you who chime in and comment. Hey, you know what? If you want to tell us what you want from a comic show, stick it in the comments. And, if we can facilitate it, we'll do it. So just talk to us. We're right here. You can give me a shout, paul@thecomiccrush.com on email, or you can find us on Twitter @thecomiccrush, on Instagram @thecomiccrush. You can find Liz @LizCJordan on Twitter. You can always contact her. I'm sure she'll give me all your feedback. But please do comment in the section below, like, share, and subscribe. Do all that stuff that helps us. And check out the Patreon. It's so cheap. And it helps us keep doing what we're doing. And the web stores, well, buy some comics from us. Would help immensely. But guys, thank you for everything you've done this year. Thank you for being a great audience. Thank you for sticking with us. Merry Christmas to you all. I hope you have a good one. Happy New Year. Best wishes for 2022. And we'll see you at the comic shop. And most importantly,